You know you're in Greece when you sit down at a cafe, order a coffee, and before you even finish stirring the sugar, someone is already arguing about Turkey. It doesn't matter if it's politics, football, or defense spending. The rivalry is always in the background. Like bouzouki music, you can't turn off. On the global stage, Greece ranks around 30th in overall military strength. That might not sound jaw-dropping, but consider the context. This is a country of barely 10 million people. That's fewer than some cities in Turkey, yet Greece manages to field around 142,000 active personnel and more than 220,000 reserves. But what if I told you that Greece, the country usually known abroad for islands, mythology, and never finishing road construction on time, might actually be the most powerful military force in the entire Mediterranean? Sounds dramatic, right? But stick around, because the numbers, the hardware, and the strategy tell a story most outsiders don't expect, and one that every Greek, deep down, already brags about to their cousins abroad. Let's start with the big picture. The Mediterranean is crowded with heavyweights. Egypt has the numbers, fielding one of the largest armies in the world, with over 400,000 active personnel. Israel has the brains, with unmatched tech, drones, and missile defenses. Turkey, it has sheer size and ambition, flexing one of NATO's biggest armies. And yet, quietly, steadily, Greece has built a force that combines quality, professionalism, and strategic positioning in a way that makes it pound for pound one of the toughest militaries in the region. How tough? Greece spends about 3% of its GDP on defense, nearly double the NATO minimum, and the highest percentage in Europe. This is the same Greece that complains about toll roads, electricity bills, and coffee going up by 20 cents. But somehow, when it comes to defense, suddenly the wallet is wide open. And for good reason. Living next to Turkey is like living next to a neighbor who plays music at 4 a.m., builds an illegal balcony, and insists half your garden is actually theirs. You don't just complain, you buy security cameras, alarms, and maybe even a guard dog the size of a small horse. Now let's talk gear. Greece fields more than 1,300 tanks, including hundreds of Leopard 2A6HLs, some of the best main battle tanks in Europe. That's not just a tank fleet, it's a moving wall of steel that makes anyone thinking of a land invasion reconsider their life choices. Add thousands of armored vehicles, artillery systems, and rocket launchers, and suddenly, this small country starts looking like it's auditioning for NATO's main battle line. But Greece isn't just about what rolls on land. The real strength lies at sea. The Hellenic Navy operates nearly 180 vessels, including 13 frigates, 9 submarines, and a whole array of missile boats that turn the Aegean into a floating minefield for anyone foolish enough to cross it. And these aren't rusty museum pieces. Greece's Type 2, 1-4 submarines are some of the quietest diesel-electric subs in the world, capable of sneaking up on enemy fleets without so much as a bubble. One Greek admiral once joked that if the Aegean ever turned into a shooting gallery, enemy ships wouldn't even know they were being hunted until their radars went dark. And if you think that's just bravado, here's a fact. Greece ranks 5th in the world for number of frigates and 10th for submarines. For a nation with just 10 million people, that's absurdly impressive. You could almost say Greece has more ships than tourists in August, which, if you've ever been to Santorini, you know is saying something. But the real crown jewel? The Hellenic Air Force. Greek pilots are legendary within NATO, often topping alliance training exercises and dogfight simulations. There's a reason even American pilots whisper about how sharp the Greeks are. Flying F-16s, Mirage 2000s, Rafales, and soon F-35 stealth fighters, Greece has turned its airspace into a fortress. Add AWACS aircraft, drones like the Heron TP, and homegrown UAVs, and you've got one of the most sophisticated air forces in the Mediterranean. It's no wonder Turkey constantly scrambles to keep up. The Aegean skies are basically the Greek Air Force's personal playground. So, how does Greece stack up against Egypt and Israel? Egypt, with its massive manpower and American-supplied equipment, looks intimidating on paper, but Egypt's forces are stretched across Sinai, the Libyan border, and internal security duties. Many analysts argue that in a direct confrontation, Egypt's size would lose some of its edge against Greece's professionalism and naval dominance. Israel, on the other hand, is the tech king. From the Iron Dome to cutting-edge drones and cyber warfare, Israel sets the standard for futuristic combat. But Israel's geography pins it down, with limited access to the sea and surrounded by land-based threats. Greece, by contrast, commands a maritime empire of over 6,000 islands and islets. In naval warfare, Greece would have the home advantage every single time. And let's not ignore the elephant, or should I say the eagle in the room, Turkey. Turkey's military is larger, with more personnel, and an ambitious domestic defense industry pumping out drones, missiles, and armored vehicles. But size isn't everything. Turkey is involved in multiple conflicts abroad, from Syria to the Caucasus, while Greece's forces are laser-focused on one theater, defending its islands and its skies. Add to that Greece's modernization drive, the €25 billion Achilles Shield project. And suddenly Ankara isn't dealing with yesterday's Greek military. By 2027, Greece will have one of Europe's most advanced multi-domain defense systems, integrating satellites, drones, air defenses, and cyber capabilities into one seamless shield. That's not just modernization, it's transformation. And here's the cultural kicker. Greeks don't just see the military as a job. It's tied to identity, pride, and history. Every Greek knows that their ancestors stood at Thermopylae, Salamis, and Marathon. The modern soldier may carry a rifle instead of a spear, but the mentality hasn't changed. Defend the homeland at all costs. Even in everyday life, you can feel it. Just try telling a Greek islander that their island doesn't matter. You'll get a history lecture, a coffee you didn't ask for, and possibly a family tree proving their great-grandfather fought there. So, is Greece secretly the Mediterranean's military superpower? Maybe it's not such a secret anymore. With a professional force, modern equipment, a navy and air force ranked among the best in Europe, and defense spending that dwarfs most of its neighbors, Greece isn't just holding its ground, it's shaping the balance of power in the region. And if you're in Ankara, Cairo, or even Tel Aviv, you'd better start paying attention. Because while Greece might be small on the map, in military terms, it's starting to look a lot like the big fish in the Mediterranean pond. Israel still leads in tech, yes. Egypt still has the manpower, true. Turkey still waves around its massive army, but none of them combine geography, alliances, and modernization in the way Greece does. Now let's zoom in closer to the neighborhood, because the Mediterranean isn't just about the big three of Turkey, Egypt, and Israel. The Balkans spill directly into this sea, and Greece's position there makes it the heavyweight among its immediate peers. Croatia has a respectable navy and is modernizing with NATO help. Serbia invests heavily in its armed forces and likes to flex Russian-supplied gear, but it lacks access to the open seas. Albania's military is small, though integrated into NATO structures. Compare all of that to Greece, a country that not only has the Balkans' most advanced air force, but also the only navy capable of projecting real power deep into the Mediterranean. That's why when Greece flexes, the whole region notices. In the Balkans, people joke that if the Greeks raise defense spending, everyone else raises their eyebrows. And it's true. For decades, Balkan militaries measured themselves against their neighbors. But when they measure against Greece, it's like comparing local football clubs to a Champions League side. Greece operates at a different scale, funded, trained, and armed to defend not just itself, but Europe's southeastern gate. And in the Balkans, there's one thing everyone knows. When the Greeks decide to flex, you better grab your coffee, sit down, and watch, because it's going to be loud, dramatic, and absolutely unforgettable. This isn't just a military. This is the return of a regional actor that, from antiquity to today, always had a say in who gets to rule the seas of the Eastern Med.